week's live stream of goRIA fueled by investment news. I'm Chuck Vela, and in just a moment, we're going to talk to David Lau and answer the question, do I need a Series 7 to be a financial advisor? Spoiler alert, you do not. Before we get into that, I just want to thank real quickly our sponsor, of course, LPL Financial. As I like to say, if you like them as an independent broker-dealer, you will absolutely love them as an RIA custodian. Okay, having said that, so what we're going to do today, as we normally do on these live streams, is talk about what new content have we put up this week on goRIA. And this morning we dropped a podcast that David and I recorded last week. And I tell you what, it was probably one of the more interesting topics I've covered in a while. And we have talked about the idea of fee-based insurance, fee-based annuities, and DPL certainly been to the forefront of that. What we're going to talk about today is, for example, that portion of your book, right? So let's say you're looking to goRIA, right? If you're listening here, you probably are thinking about it. Apologize for the noise. I'm at a conference today, by the way, FPA Connecticut. Little shout out for them. So I had to kind of excuse myself for just a moment. So if there's any background traffic, I apologize. Hopefully this mic is noise canceling well enough. Anyway, long story short, we're going to talk about that portion of books that perhaps cannot be at least immediately 1035'd into a new variable annuity or insurance contract or even mutual fund trails. But you still want to goRIA, you still want to drop your 7. What are some solutions other than just trying to either change them into a fee-based account, which 70-80% of the time you can with ease, but for that percentage that you can't, you could leave that behind, which you don't want to do, or we could do what David's going to suggest. So with that as some framing, David, welcome to today's live stream.
Thanks, Chuck. Really good to see you.
All right.
I've never spoken with a reporter live on scene here.
Live on the scene, right? I feel like one of those storm chasers. As a matter of fact, I'm in Connecticut, and we are expecting a hurricane, so that would be pretty cool if that happens in the background. We can get some shtick out of it. But let me turn it over to you, because really that's what everyone wants to hear. And the question again is, do you need a 7? My answer is usually no. But tell us about the solution that you've been working on over the past year or so, David, to help advisors make that move from BD to RIA.
Yeah, so the 7, as you know, Chuck, I mean, a lot of our people, advisors who grew up in the RIA world never got a 7, right, to begin with. I mean, a 7 is usually, somebody who is affiliated with a broker-dealer. And what we do, you described, the 1035 of assets, and we do that where we can to get a better product for the client, move the assets to a recurring fee-based structure for the advisor. But for those, annuities that don't make sense for whatever reason, whether it's still in surrender or the client has a benefit that can't be overcome with the new product, we can exchange those products and from one agent of record or broker of record to our broker of record. So we basically take control of the policy. We provide then visibility and access to those policies to the advisor, and we can hire them back as an advisor on the policy. So it enables kind of a clean breakaway from the broker-dealer, taking pretty much all of your assets from the broker-dealer, moving them into a structure that will work within your new independent RIA structure.
That sounds really fantastic. So, in other words, what we're able to do here is get someone that wants to go from the BD world to the RIA space, and perhaps they don't want to do hybrid. Of course, hybrid is an option, right? But if you perhaps want to get away from FINRA oversight, perhaps you see some advantages of the flexibility you have in the RIA space for marketing, doing things like these live streams, right? Which is a little hard to pull off sometimes in the wirehouse environment, but in the RIA world, where your compliance you have a lot more control over, perhaps there's an advantage to not having yourself subjected to FINRA. So maybe go a little deeper into the details. So I kind of teased this a little earlier today on a post that I put up, where you can not only service your legacy broker-dealer variable annuities and mutual fund trails, but you're also getting paid on them. And I know you touched upon that, David, but if you can go into just a little bit more specificity on how exactly that is able to work without a Series 7.
Yeah, so there's a transfer of the agent or broker on the policy. So, if it were you, hey, Chuck, we transfer you as the agent of record or broker of record on the annuity policy. We move it to DPL. And so then the asset gets moved, the contract gets moved to our broker dealer. So then we now have control of the policy. And since we're not in the business of managing your client's assets, we're going to hire the advisor back. We can hire the advisor back to manage that asset, just like you would, using a TAMP or something like that. So that's kind of the mechanics, of how it works. And it's a pretty seamless process. I mean, generally, from the time the advisor signs the paperwork with their client to transfer that agent or broker of record, it takes 2 to 3 weeks for the insurance carrier to process that changeover. So it's a really simple and quick process, and something we've seen a tremendous amount of demand for. We've started offering it in earnest at the beginning of the year, and we've helped 50 or 60 firms at this point make this kind of transition.
That sounds good. And some things I'm learning when I'm doing live stream, especially on location, is I really need some headsets because I'm having a hard time hearing. So I'm making out most of that, and hopefully the audience is as well. We appreciate everyone's patience as I kind of fine tune how we do this. But that does sound really good. And the last question perhaps I have, and this is more broad, philosophical. What do you think this means for the broker-dealer industry and this continued trend that we're seeing from BDs to RIAs? So if now you could do 90% of what you want to do as an advisor on a fee basis, and now have this other mechanism for capturing that last 10 or 20% that perhaps before now you could not, what does that mean for this BD to RIA trend, and what does this mean to BDs in general? What do you think?
I think the trend from BD to RIA has been accelerating for a while now. And this, annuities have been, and it's part of the reason for launching DPL, annuities have been one of the last asset classes that tether advisors to their broker dealer. And so with the advent of commission-free annuities, where you can bill on them as assets like AUM rather than being paid a commission on them, I think that really paves the way to independence for a lot of advisors who've used annuities, within their practice as part of, the portfolio for clients, particularly the retirement portfolio. And, what we've been able to do generally is bring, 5 or 7 years ago, there just weren't products available on the annuity side. We've got 70, 80 products at this point from 20 plus carriers. We make utilizing annuities in a fee basis extremely simple, for an RIA in a fee only structure. So I think this is only going to accelerate the movement and enable more movement, giving advisors more freedom to choose their business model. Because now a large and important asset class, annuities, are available to work in an RIA structure as well.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect way to kind of wrap up today's live stream. And again, we don't want to give it all away, right? So if you're listening and this is intriguing you, and again, we're going to answer the question even in more depth on the podcast on how you can actually go RIA, maintain your legacy broker-dealer business, and drop your 7. I mean, talk about a win-win-win. So if you want to hear the full podcast, it's up on the website right now. Simply go to investmentnews.com first. Once you're at investmentnews.com, there's a little tab on the upper right-hand side that says Go RIA. Click that. You're going to see the full podcast that David and I recorded just last week that really answers that question, do I need a 7? And no, you don't. Okay. David Lau, thank you so much for joining us. And for those of you listening, thanks for joining us as well. And we'll see you next week with some more content from Go RIA. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chuck.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.